many times do we really spend the time in training with all our folks and saying, this is really how we're going to play? And I know the answer.
I think for us security professionals, one of the biggest challenges that we have is when one of these threats comes in, it often comes in a somewhat media exposed manner that a lot of your junior associates, whether they're part of the security group or not, are aware of. And your customers, their associates on the client side will often reach out at the more junior pieces within the organization. So what we've worked on developing here, and I've worked on in some of the other organizations I've worked in the past, was setting out some break glass communications. So if we see something coming in, if you go back to SolarWinds, what happened there, and even before that, it was originally targeted at FireEye Mandiant, we got a communication out to the masses saying we are aware of this threat. We are actively tracking it. As more information comes, we will pass it along. This way, if inquiries come in from the customers to the client account leads or whatnot, they at least have a talking point saying we're aware of it, we're looking into it as of right now, XYZ. So in your incident response plans, absolutely have laid out the different types of communications and almost some examples of them. And then to make sure that they work, actually run a tabletop. Run a few tabletops, really start building this muscle memory. And in the context, too, of communications, I have always found that just because you have an incident response plan, and in it will list out finance, human resources, communications, IT, et cetera, the roles and responsibilities during an incident often differ slightly than day-to-day or business as usual. So I do think it's worthwhile to have training with the people who are part of your incident response program that may not be part of a CSERT, so that they understand, in the event that they are called upon, these would be the expected behaviors. They go through that tabletop, and this is something that's not just one and done. It's something that's done on somewhat of a regular cadence. For us, we try and do it monthly, but I would say quarterly or even once every 4 months is adequate.
One of the things that I've noticed in some places is that people will say, well, I've got really good incident response because we're handling performance or network or, whatever, you name it, right? Fraud, phishing, pick your whatever your thing is that you specialize in. And to Jason's point, if you only focus on one particular type of incident or event that you need to respond to, right? And I think really you need to be practicing at the event point of view, because you've got to be good at what is all that stuff that happens before somebody declares it an incident, and who's the person that declares it an incident? Because one of the things that happen is those junior people, they're going to start running around and screaming incident well before you really even know what's going on. So you've really got to train people right from, I'm seeing an alert that is just not like anything I've seen before, or I'm troubleshooting an availability issue, and all of a sudden something starts popping up in my logs that I've never seen before. It's all of that pre-work that really, really drives how successful you're going to be. And by successful, I mean, are you going to get more than 3 hours of sleep while you're working through whatever it is that's going on?
Today, we're used to, we have it down pat to a certain extent. But it was funny because I think early on, we all had to learn to over-communicate. Well, that's not natural. That's not what we do. I just sent you an email. There it is, right? Yet we needed to go back to a more day-to-day video cameras, turning things on so that we could see each other. As a matter of fact, when I reached out to some of my vendors and I said, hey, I want you to come and practice with us for our disaster, so that if something happens, I need to know what your response is. It was funny because the answer I got was, really? I don't know what to do that. What do I sell you, right? Because that's what we think. Yet funny enough, that's exactly the point that we're trying to make to you guys, is to be aware that you have to cross that line to where you're comfortable, to where they start thinking about the next step before you do. That makes a great part. Now, let me jump a little bit, because we talked a little bit about training, And I really want to challenge you. How many times do we really spend the time in training with all our folks and saying, this is really how we're going to play. This is really how we're going to do it a day to day. And I know the answer. The answer is, Pedro, I don't have time. Please go away. And number two, can I just watch a video and call it good? Right? We've learned that in this 1 year of working from home. I got a video. I can watch it. I'm done.